I refuse to talk about it.
Drones After Dark, Drones After Dark. We are live. Welcome, welcome. Who are you talking about?
Nothing. We're welcoming Cynthia on the show.
Yeah,
Oh,
he's
go
talking about
ahead.
his drink of choice for this evening.
My drink of choice is always Stella. That's my look. You can't see it, but it's an invisible Stella.
Nice. Yeah.
What are you drinking, Cynthia?
I have a mystery drink that's going to be in my really awesome Star Wars mug right there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
oh, Bobby, I didn't send you the latest 3D print that Toby did. I know this is
Let's
not
see
nothing
it.
to do with drones, but let me send it to Bobby. Maybe he can share it. Um, and Cynthia, my wife went to I think Home Goods yesterday, and she bought a bunch of like wine glasses. Like they're smaller, but
Ooh, okay.
it's all Star Wars themed on it.
Nice.
Pretty cool. I'll go get them, but they're upstairs, and I'll probably break them on
Yeah.
the way down.
Yeah. No, don't break them. She'll be upset at you. And then she'd have to go back to Home Goods for another 5 hours.
Yeah, and then they're not there because each store only gets like one of each item or something like that. Then you'd have to like go hunting around. But
Yeah. Um, I'm gonna have
we're
to go track those down.
yes, I'll send you pictures of what they look like when we're done. But
Okay. Yeah. I think I'm going a little
Nice.
bit overboard with the Star Wars stuff today. It wasn't entirely intentional, but like I've got like Star Wars earrings on.
nice,
So,
nice. But you never told us
yeah.
what's in the cup. What's the mystery drink in the cup?
Oh no,
Or in the mug?
it's not anything exciting. It's
Uh,
just
uh,
tea.
oh, it's
Yeah.
tea. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's only 5 o'clock over here. I'm in California. I'm on a
So,
west side.
and 5 o'clock? Isn't that like a happy hour at 5 o'clock?
No, she's got meetings. She's got
We're
meetings
gonna we're
going
gonna
on.
go with we're gonna go with this is green tea in a mug and leave it at that.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Nice,
That's gonna be
nice.
that's gonna be the safe answer there. Um,
Pretty sweet.
Well,
I'm drinking Topo Chico. Yeah,
nice.
so
delicious. Gotta stay hydrated.
and we should celebrate that we actually went live with no issues this time. No problems.
Wait until we're like 5 minutes in. You're gonna jinx us. Something's gonna like the
No,
feed's
no,
gonna
no.
cut out. Bobby's mic's gonna stop working again. His hair is gonna go the other direction.
Okay,
Bobby,
welcome, welcome.
I'm digging the
What?
new hairstyle for today's episode, man.
Just for today's episode? That's it?
It didn't look like that last time.
No, no, it didn't. It didn't. It was getting too straggly, and I'm going on vacation soon, so I
Oh,
figured
nice.
get a haircut. Yep.
Where are you going, Bobby?
I'm going to Hawaii, then Japan,
Ooh,
then Hong Kong, then China.
Whoa,
wow.
Jeff.
Doing a full-on Asia tour.
Are you going to be
Yeah,
stopping by ACSL?
I don't know. Not sure. Not sure.
Oh,
I
What
don't know
dates are
where
you in Japan
ACSL
again?
is located. I am in Japan from the 15th of May until the 21st.
Okay, very nice. Our team won't be there. Our US team won't be there, unfortunately, during that time. But if you wanted to swing by the office, we'd be happy to show you around and host you. We've got some cool things to see there. So ACSL Japan is right in Tokyo. I think we're like halfway between, do you know where like Tokyo Station is?
Hmm.
So there's Tokyo Station. I guess the two landmarks would be like Tokyo Station and Tokyo Disneyland. We're like literally the midway point. Our office is midway point between those two, I guess, like spots, right? So if you're in that area, definitely let us know.
Yeah,
I,
for sure. Nothing's
yeah,
far in Tokyo. Just take a train.
Yeah,
I,
yeah. And then we have a pretty cool drone lab about an hour outside of Tokyo. And so we have our own drone field. It's like a drone hangar. It's where all the geekiness happens. So that's
I,
Oh,
also a
you
re-
cool
can
spot to.
that-
when I was there,
I'll probably skip on that. I'm not a geek.
I remember flying into Narita, and then I
Yeah.
stayed in Shibuya.
Okay, yeah.
I'm sure I'm not pronouncing it correctly, but
No, Shibuya is fine. Yeah.
yeah, we love Japan. Well, I told you
Yeah.
I'm going back, so I'll be there one day.
Yeah. I gotta say that's gotta be one of the biggest perks of working at ACSL out of the other drone companies I've been at. It's like you can't beat being able to go and soak in culture in Tokyo like every so often.
Wait, there was no perks at DJI?
I mean, you could go to Shenzhen.
Well, what
Yeah,
about
Finland's cool.
No Hong Kong trips?
I mean the trips are always really fast. So like you'd fly into Hong Kong and then take the ferry or take a car over. to Shenzhen and stuff. But I think when I was there, I made a mistake of like having trips there in the middle of summer. So like Shenzhen in the middle of July, oof, that humidity it's rough.
Yep.
I'm a spoiled Californian, so that was unpleasant for me.
Was your hair puffy like Bobby's with all that humidity?
Worse. Yeah. So I had like a full on afro like every day. Like you walk outside, it's just like, you know? So,
What?
but I don't
That's
know. Bobby
crazy.
might have me beat on the volume still. I mean, that is some loft you've got going on in there. Like, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. You want to know my hair routine?
Vidal Sassoon?
Neglect.
Oh,
I just wake up this way.
Wow, you're like a walking Maybelline commercial.
you,
So that's the tagline is you're born with it. Never mind.
This is
we we've
this is
been
the entire
live for like
episode.
we've been live for like 6 minutes, and
Bullshitting.
Bobby, you haven't done like your introduction, man.
All
Like,
we've done is like
I
brag on
haven't.
your hair.
I know. Go
Yeah.
ahead,
Yeah.
kick it
I've
off,
just been
Bobby, the right
bullshitting.
way.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. Sounds good. Drones After Dark. We're here with the one and only Cynthia Huang, former executive from DJI, and then afterwards joined Auterion as another executive, and now is the chief executive of ACSL, the leading Japanese drone company. Welcome, Cynthia.
Thanks. I also want to just lay claim to fame in the sense that I'm told by you guys that I'm the first mom on the dad show. So I feel pretty
First,
good about that. So I'll be here representing, I guess, the moms in the drone industry. But yeah, it's been a crazy couple of years. So thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah,
thanks for coming
yeah.
on.
And for our viewers out there, there's just a couple of rules for Drones After Dark. It was started after we realized all the gossiping, all the drama, all the information that's shared within this industry is done at conferences, but not at the booths. It's after dark when we're all plastered in hotel rooms or in different venues. So we're trying to replicate that with this podcast. At this point, I am not drinking much right now, but uh, we still have Lewis drinking some Stella, and we're gonna gossip. And the other rule is you gotta curse. You gotta say some swear words. It's unfiltered.
A- And unlike other keyboard warriors that hide behind fake profiles to
Oh my
troll
God, it's
the drone industry, we do it right in your face live, and we do it live. Well, when it works, we try to be live. We've been pretty good the last few episodes, but you know, we like to keep it real. And like I said, we're not hiding behind any computers or fake accounts. We put our face to the drama. Good
All
disclaimer,
right, I
right?
guess. Yeah, I guess with that, this is
I
going to be
wonder
an
who he's
interesting.
referring to.
So
Who
that means
knows?
Cynthia, we're gonna want some like good gossip and stories and history and we Bobby already went over your resume, so you're gonna have we
What?
know you're gonna have some interesting things to tell us.
Yeah, let me share. Let me tally up all the PTSD I have from my illustrious 7, 8 years in this industry. Seriously though, it feels like it's been decades. There's so much going on, and as you alluded to, there's definitely characters in this industry, and it's fun to kind of see that evolve over time. But I mean, where should I start? Any pressing
Well,
questions?
you know what? Let's start
Yeah.
off because I think obviously a lot of the good stuff I'm sure is gonna come from your DJI days, right? But tell us more of it. And then listen, and I was gonna say this last time we spoke.
Yeah.
I have such a hard time when I go to say ACSL because I'm always like, am I going to say ASCL? Am I going to,
Yep.
is, can you guys come up with a easier name to say? Is that like in the
We
works?
are
Like,
certainly open to suggestions. But brief history on ACSL, why we have 4 letters in our name, which is like one more than we should, right?
mhm.
DJI, which is like perfect. So ACSL stands for Autonomous Control Systems Laboratory. So Bobby won't get this because he's not a geek, but the very history or the origin story of ACSL is that it was spun out of a university laboratory in Tokyo, where literally it was a professor and a bunch of students working on control system algorithms. And so the name on the door of their laboratory was literally Autonomous Control Systems Laboratory. And when they had a product that was good enough that they're like, hey, this should be productized and brought to market, they were so creative. They're like, well, we don't know what to call ourselves. We're just going to take the acronym ACSL. And So that is the very exciting story of how
story
we
behind
got
it, yeah.
named.
I would
Yeah,
have came
yeah.
up with like Japanese drone company, JDC.
Wow, thank you.
Uh,
I will I'll submit that to the board and see if we
They'll
get
probably
approval.
top of the list, top three,
Yeah.
probably, right?
Yeah, we'll
Something
give you
heavy
like one
motors.
thousandth of a penny royalties for that, for coming up with that.
Oh,
It's like
look
the
at that.
If it gets
I'm getting
approved.
some sort of credit.
oh my goodness. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Well, we'll get you
He
like
gets
a
all
we'll
the
get you like a
credit.
sticker or something.
It's all about the credit, Bobby.
I mean, Bobby, you
Look
can
at you.
throw in a suggestion too. I mean, just because he's the first one to say something doesn't mean that's going to be what's picked.
It's true.
Cynthia,
Yeah,
I don't know. I
we
don't.
Asians, we think alike.
Oh, here we go.
It's time for
Listen,
us to be racist against you.
Oh my God, that took like less than 10 minutes. Bobby, come on, you
don't
gotta save it for like the optimal time. It's gotta be like 30 minutes in.
Oh no, it's gonna get worse.
Like he
no
needs to be
sh
half a beer down at least.
no shaming. Okay, don't shame. Cynthia, I don't think you know this story, but the first time I met Bobby was somebody through another department, and they were like, "Oh, come here. We have some guy that's gonna show some 3D mapping or something like that." So I'm like, "All right." So I drove there. I get there, and there's Bobby in a conference room. So he comes with his laptop, and he starts doing his presentation, but he has no Wi-Fi, so he has no internet, so he can't show anything. So I'm like, and then the department we were at, I don't think they had like Wi-Fi in the building. So here he is trying to sell his product, but he can't go online and show what Sky Browser is all about.
Awful.
So I'm like, okay, let me go to my car. I'll get you my hotspot, and then and then Bobby made his presentation. So that was our first meeting. That's the first time I met him.
Bobby, welcome to your own personal roast.
It's just I feel like Lewis just has these like written in a whiteboard behind his camera, and he just like chooses a few for every single episode and just like, all right.
I'm pretty sure he has a dartboard where we can't see, and he's just like bored and just
No,
like throwing darts.
it
He's like,
just
I'm gonna tell that story.
it just comes natural. It just comes. I think it just
Uh-huh.
comes natural. How many years ago was that, Bobby? That was already a while ago.
21,
No, I think it was before that. No,
2020.
maybe I don't know.
It
Pre or
was
post
fall
COVID?
time, so probably 2020 then.
And that's
Yeah.
when Bobby was still wise enough to be living in New Jersey and not move to Texas.
I don't know.
You're not even gonna be able to fly DJI drones in Texas soon, man. So you're gonna come back to Jersey?
Why do I need to fly drones?
I don't know, because Skybrowse drones,
He's
Oh,
not a
that's
drone geek.
right.
He established
That's
this already.
right.
Expanding.
Bobby expanded. Tell us more, Bobby.
Ooh, Enterprise VR. Perfect time to share my screen and show you some of the new stuff that we're working
Cynthia's
on.
like, oh, great. What is this all about?
As long as it's follow up with a hair tutorial, I'm here for it. What do you got for us?
Ooh, look at that beautiful animation.
Wow.
Ooh, pow, 3D model. Look how
Ooh.
quickly it loads. Bam, animation.
Congratulations, you have Wi-Fi this time.
I know.
But anyways, you can walk inside all of these in VR, and it's generated from your existing 3D models. And you'll be able to get interior, exterior. It's a beautiful animation, and that's all I'm going to share.
Nice.
When is it going to be like officially out?
We've sold 12 units last month, so it's already out. Oh, we sold 12 customers last month, so it's out, but that's the only sneak peek that we're giving. It's all through us reaching out to agencies that are qualified for it. So we haven't done any like significant marketing on it outside of that. Just trying to keep it small right now because this is like also like a hardware product, so we don't want to increase too much strain on the manpower to deliver, do the training and all that.
You're doing a slow rollout.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Very secretive,
Yeah.
very secretive. Look, our buddy Kyle is on. I thought is he still in Europe, traveling and searching and doing all cool things in Europe? He's on. You left a comment on YouTube, that's why.
Oh, cool.
What's he saying now? I mean, we could easily just spend this entire episode talking about Kyle's shenanigans in Tokyo.
All right, let's do it.
Oh,
This is where Kyle starts getting nervous, and those comments are going to start. Hold up, where are you seeing these comments that he's leaving?
Well, no, he just said Cynthia, the real CEO. That's what he commented on
Oh
the
gosh.
chat on YouTube. So,
No, no.
but shout out to
Yeah.
Kyle.
Yeah.
Big.
This is a joke about him being a real pilot.
I feel like we should have him on as like a guest speaker on every episode. But he's so busy. It's hard to book him.
Yeah, he's busy being a real pilot. So as he likes to remind all of us, lesser pilots, right?
The real pilot.
The real pilot, yeah. I guess he can.
Yeah.
I guess he can claim. I guess he can claim that title. We'll give him that. Yeah,
Well,
Yeah, he
but
did mean
here's
me
a
the first time.
yeah. I mean, I'll share one quick like funny thing to set the stage about like Kyle in Tokyo. If you guys have met Kyle before, I mean, he's a big guy, right? Like uncomfortably big for like Tokyo infrastructure, right? Like Tokyo is neat and orderly and efficient. Hotel rooms are super small, and trains and bathroom stalls, and like everything is just meant for, well, I guess
small
Asians.
people.
Yeah, smaller people. So I basically spent an entire week in Tokyo just making fun of Kyle for being fat. Um, since this is uncensored, I'm
Damn.
allowed to say that.
Oh,
And
those
he's
are
not even
some
here to
fight.
defend himself.
Those are some fight words, Cynthia. He's back in the
Yeah,
U.S., so he's on our time now. So he might jump on in
he's welcome to do so.
oh my God. You
Um,
just called Kyle fat.
I did live on air. He like took up way too much space in Tokyo. People looked at him like he was
Well,
like,
even I remember when I was there, like even with the
yeah.
hotel, like they would ask you, "Do you want a Western room?" And obviously
Mhm.
the bigger room, and you'd say yes, but do you get it? It's not like our typical like hotel room.
Logical.
No,
It's just
it was still.
it's to prevent you from going downstairs and complaining about the size of your room.
I'm like, what do we get? Like an extra like 10 square feet? Like I don't. It still
No,
felt
probably
like
like 1 square foot.
yeah, it still felt like really small. But no, I
Yeah.
can't wait. I can't wait. We talk about it all the time. It was actually that was our when we went our honeymoon was we were in Tokyo for a few days and then we flew to Bali and then we came back and we had another layover in Tokyo. But we say it all the
Yeah.
time, like we want to take the kids there. Amazing. I love it. It's kind of like it reminded me a lot of uh like even the architecture and stuff. Like when you're driving from
Mm.
Narita to Tokyo, it felt like
Yeah.
I was driving through like the countryside in Portugal. Like even like the houses and
Hmm.
stuff. It kind of looked like Southern Europe for me.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely some lovely like open fields and stuff there. And yeah, it's nice. It's nice to drive through parts of it.
Do you
Um,
normally hang out in Tokyo or do you go elsewhere?
Mostly just in Tokyo. Yeah, the trips are usually, pretty packed. Like we'll bring partners and customers over. We'll kind of do like a impromptu, well, not impromptu, but like a more or less like an open house of the ACSL Japan headquarters, a few times a year. So, we'll bring in industry experts, we'll bring in, partners, just so our R&D team is able to connect with real people that are actually, really using drones, out in the field in the US. We've It's been a really interesting experience, and it's gotten really good these last few times when we bring customers back, because so much groundwork has been laid in helping bridge some of the cultural differences. So for instance, um, a lot of like the attributes of Sultan, which is ACSL's small UAS drone, when it was first brought to the US, a lot of it was optimized for Japanese pilots, right? So I want you guys to picture with me for a second, right? Like Japanese pilots, they're like calm and orderly. They've got like checklists and stuff. They go out into the field, they set up, they go through their checklist, they push a bunch of different like buttons and go through all these steps, and they're all like zen about it, right? Because like it's process oriented. There's a checklist, you follow it, it's done. And then they fly their drone. And then if something happens, they're like going through their checklist again, and they're going through all these procedures and stuff. So it's all kind of like a very slow, patient, calm sort of a flying experience. And then we have like American pilots that are literally like crazy fucking cowboys, and they're like flying this stuff like they want to break it, right?
Is that
So
Kyle? Is that Kyle?
I mean, I wasn't gonna say anything because I already called him fat, and I feel like I should lay off the insults. But no, I'm just kidding. And by the way, I'm not fat shaming him at all. I'm not really calling him fat. He's just a big guy. I mean, um, So he like will get into the car and then like, we're all gonna have to like just kind of like give him his own like entire section of the car there. But anyway, so those are some of the cultural differences we had to bridge. We had to go back to our R&D team and be like, look, we need to like increase the takeoff speed. We need to be able to have the yaw speed be increased. We need to be able to actually accommodate the flight styles of American pilots, because if they have to assume command of a drone and they have to tap through like 3 different layers of menu options to really confirm that they want to be the pilot in command, that's not going to fly like out. No pun intended. That's not going to fly out in the field, right? Like it's about being efficient. It's about being able to almost in a sense memorize what you need to do, really quickly on a go in high pressure situations. It's not necessarily going to be these calm, zen, perfectly thought out procedural sort of operations out here. It's a lot of times going to be very high stress, high pressure, has to be fast. So actually, so when Kyle came out, he actually helped communicate a lot of that to our R&D team. So we've implemented a lot of great changes from that, and also from the other partners and customers that we've brought out over the years.
No, listen, I definitely appreciate that from a company. Like even with my experience with, with DJI, right? Or I'll tell in the beginning, guess they were small enough or they had the resources where they took
Mhm.
customer feedback pretty well. DJI, you probably know better than I do. It's I think I'm on, my opinion is that there's a huge disconnect in DJI between the US team and the China team, and I think that, even like some of us that give suggestions to DJI, I think it has to go through so many layers of nonsense before it actually reaches the China team. And I guess that's because they're a big company, right? So maybe the user feedback is not as important to them as smaller companies. But I definitely appreciate that ACSL is actually doing that, right? Because if you're gonna make a product, right, and and you guys are doing it at a slower pace, right? Not meaning that, not in a bad way, but why not take the user feedback while you guys are perfecting or making the product better, right? Use that to
Mhm.
use the feedback instead of building something and then putting it out there and then all of a sudden there's all these issues with it, right? Or the user feedback's not great. So
Yeah.
I definitely appreciate that you guys are doing it.
Yeah, it's something that definitely I personally very much enjoy about working with the ACSL R&D team. I wouldn't say that like DJI or other R&D teams are less receptive. I think it's just that to some degree to what you said, right? Like they're almost like a victim of their own success, right? When you have thousands of employees and you have so many different layers, from a project standpoint or a product standpoint or an R&D team, it is hard sometimes to get an aggregate of feedback to the right person that's actually in the right role to be able to implement that on the right timeline with the right resources, and to actually stay in that role long enough and actually see it through. Because there are a lot of structural changes that happen all the time in larger companies, right? I think ACSL is unique in a sense that we're small enough and nimble enough to be close to the customer, but we're also stable enough as like a publicly listed company that we can really put our heads down, focus on a product, and focus on iterating on customer feedback instead of responding to other external pressures that are further from customers, like investor pressures or VC pressures or anything like that. So we're in a really, I think, privileged spot in the industry. So we try to leverage that as much as we can. Um, I can't say enough good things about our R&D team actually, because they are such a we're such an interesting team, right? I think when people think about a Japanese company, they might think that it's just like a very stuffy traditional Japanese company with a bunch of like nerds just like tapping away on their keyboards all day long, whatever. ACSL's global CTO is actually American, and he's based out of Bend, Oregon. But he's been with ACSL for about 8 years now, and he really cultivated a incredibly diverse R&D team there. So we have, Americans, Europeans, Latin Americans. We have a ton of diversity on our R&D team. And I think that fosters this very collaborative and sort of humble atmosphere. So we'll bring customers and partners over, and like the feedback will actually get heard, which I'm personally just really proud of, because I think that's what this industry needs. So hopefully we can keep doing that.
Right.
Yeah,
And
yeah, well said.
you
Well
guys stay
said.
out of the whole
It's
lobbying nonsense too. So
so
I'm sorry,
spoken
what
like
was
a
that?
true CEO.
No, I said you guys stay out of the whole lobbying nonsense also. So
Yeah, honestly, we don't have the resources to care about that. We're just trying to get our product like to be of service. Like there's
Mhm.
um there's so much that we need to do, right? I mean, I think we're very, so both myself and our solution engineering manager in US, Francisco, we come from DJI, right? Like Francisco was at DJI from like the very beginning, you know, like back when DJI was in the US and focused on consumers and on cinematography. So we've seen kind of the evolution of product like over time, and we take a very honest look at it, and we're just like, oh my goodness, like we have so much we need to catch up on, right? So
Mhm.
there's just
Yeah.
endless things that we need to improve on, and that bar is set really far in the future for not just us, but I think for any drone company in the world that's trying to make a good product that can actually be reliable and accessible and useful to, you know, people that actually utilize it for important work, right? So whether that's public safety or critical infrastructure inspectors and stuff, like um, you know, there's a level of accountability that needs to be there in terms of putting out a product that can actually be useful. So we're pushing really hard to try to do that.
And it's a technical challenge as well that a
Yeah,
lot of product owners have to juggle because you have to prioritize what matters the most at the current moment, but also something that will build the foundation for the future. And
yeah,
when you get a lot of suggestions, it's difficult to prioritize which ones matter the
yeah,
most. And if something just gets pushed back a few months or maybe half a year, 1 year,
yeah,
then end users will think that you're not being receptive to it. And it gets a lot more difficult as you get more end users because there'll be more suggestions, more feedback, more feature requests, and even though you have more people now, it has to get into the ears, like you said, of the right people in order for that to become a true product. It's incredible. It's incredibly difficult, and I faced it myself with like different features and different products that we want to launch. So I get what you mean, and it's a pretty difficult challenge that
yeah.
I think DJI solves pretty well by doing the Apple approach, where they kind of well, they just wait until someone else does it and sees a big market for it, and then they do it better. And that's about it. And scale it better and market it better, and that's it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But I think the key difference there too is that like DJI has all the foundations down, right? Because they've been dominant for so long that all the core technology pieces that are necessary for a high performance drone are there. And I think the rest of us, you know, other drone manufacturers, we're kind of having to pick and choose what we want to prioritize in terms of those core technologies to really get right? Like, do you prioritize having better battery life? Do you prioritize having better payloads integrated? Do you prioritize, you know, improving your flight control system? Do you prioritize reducing weight? I mean, like, there's so many different things that you have to kind of decide because, to be honest, you know, everyone's probably behind on everything, right? In terms of, you know, against like the industry leading technology. So that's definitely been a unique challenge. But that's why it helps a lot to get feedback, right? To get feedback, to try to understand, well, how many pain points does this actually address if we roll out this feature? How many pain points does it actually, like, is this a nice to have or is this a must have? And not just hearing the feedback, but understanding from customers why they specifically need that feedback, right? Like if they don't get that specific feature or that specific improvement, what does that mean for their daily operations? What does that mean for them when they're out in the field, right? If you understand the whys behind it, it helps so much more in terms of plotting it on a roadmap and figuring out what to prioritize next.
what's
Mhm.
what's the feedback you guys have received the most?
Yeah. So let me give an example of some of the things that we faced last year and kind of how we like kind of prioritize some of that, right? So last year, when we brought Sultan to the US market, we very tentatively did a few public safety events just to kind of put the product out there, try to see if there was interest, to see, you know, what we needed to improve on. And we very quickly were like, nope, we're pulling back and taking very much a crawl, walk, run approach because there's a lot of things that we need to get right in our product before we would feel good about, you know, putting it even on a test basis in the hands of someone in public safety that's, you know, doing critical work. We narrowed it down to three major pieces of feedback that were blockers for public safety adoption, right? The first one was we needed to have a smart controller, right? Public safety does not want to be juggling, a bring your own device situation with extra wires and an extra device to get approved and charged and to keep track of and all of that. So we knew we needed to get a, thanks, Bobby. So we knew we needed to get a smart controller to market. So that was the first major piece of feedback. And we really cranked up the heat on that on our Japan R&D team. And we came out with this, which is the smart controller. It's a Tenso. It's called a Tenso smart controller. So we rolled that out towards the end of last summer. The second piece of feedback we got was that even though Sultan boasts this like interchangeable payload system, while that's a cool concept, we quickly realized that having a thermal option that's 320 non-radiometric is just like super cringe, right? Or whatever. I don't know what young people say these days, but it's like embarrassing, right?
Not good.
Like, yeah, not good. And like, it wasn't just that people wanted a fancier payload to have fancier specs. It's because there's agencies that have defined entire operations and entire workflows around being able to fly a certain distance and get a certain level of like quality data, right? So having 320 non-radiometric was just absolutely useless. So we really had to go back to the drawing board and look at our resources and say, how fast can we get a Flare Hadron integrated onto the Sultan? And what would that take? Like, what do we have to consider from a mechanical standpoint, electronic standpoint, a software standpoint, in order to make this, another payload that seamlessly integrates into Sultan's ecosystem? So we had to do that, which fortunately we were able to do, and that's shipping, I think, in the next month or so. So we're excited to be able to finally offer that. The third piece of feedback that we heard loud and clear had to do with the gimbal stability on a Sultan. Right. So Sultan has a 3-axis mechanical gimbal. And when we tested with public safety, we realized that the bar for evaluating gimbal stability is very different than some of the earlier customers we tested with, which were more on inspection side, right? On inspection side, you're flying a drone, you're lining up a shot, you're taking the image, and it's a still image. So, you're good to go, right? As long as what you're looking at component-wise is actually, in focus. For public safety use cases, there's, a bigger variety, right? You're looking at live streaming, situational awareness, maybe video evidence capture. So having that stability in live flight becomes a lot more critical. And our gimbal just was not strong enough to be able to stabilize itself properly in higher wind conditions. So we had to go back to the drawing board and really look at, this problem from all sorts of different angles, right? This is going to be way above my pay grade in terms of like technical information, but I mean, like, apparently there's like frequencies you have to track, and then you have to try to find frequencies to cancel out those frequencies, and that helps reduce vibration and stuff. And so that was like probably the biggest hurdle, that the biggest challenge that we had to solve. And that took us the better part of like 2024, basically. And even going like a month into 2025, where we finally are like, okay, we're going to roll out this firmware update. We feel like it's going to make a big enough difference. We're routing X amount more power to the gimbal so that the motors can better compensate for wind. We're improving some of the temperature measurements for the IMU so that it can better correct itself. And we're improving the electronic image stabilization on board the drone. So we had to roll out this kind of like package of fixes in order to address that. But that's been kind of our approach, right? Which is to understand, what do customers want? Why do they want it? And then realistically, what can we do with the constraints that we have to be able to like get as close as possible to what it is that they need, right? So, quite transparently, that's some of like the strongest feedback we got last year and what we've tried to do to meet that. Is it perfect? No, but we're trying, right? And I think we're going to keep trying, and we're going to keep making those improvements. The other big piece that we're still working on improving, that we've made some improvements to, but clearly have room for more improvement, is just the video latency aspect, right? That's difficult. I mean, DJI is like, they're down to like 100 milliseconds, like video latency, like it's ridiculous. It's ridiculously good, right? So we started out at like 400 millisecond latency, which is like awful. And then we got it down to like 250. And we're like, okay, we need to keep pushing envelope. Like we have to, what was it that we talked about in Tokyo like a few months ago? We're like, we have to keep hammering at it, right? And so that's just a fun little thorn in our R&D side that we keep poking on every so often. It's like, come on, we need to improve the latency more. Like there's got to be some other way we can look at this.
That's really impressive. Like the 50-second latency is fantastic, because under 100 seconds of latency to a human is basically real time. And going from 400 to 50? Wow.
No, to 250.
Oh, it's
Don't give me too much
250.
credit. 250. Yeah. Oh my gosh. It was
I heard
50.
I heard
If it was
50
still
for a sec.
50 millisecond latency, I'd be ecstatic.
Yeah, but
Like, this
those
would
are
be
all
champagne.
those are all good problems to have. There's others that are, dealing with drones falling out of the sky, not being able to fly over, above 200 feet. So those are actually good problems to have.
Yeah, knock on wood. Hopefully those are the only kind of problems that we have to keep, chugging along at. Um, but it's fun, right? It's fun to be able to sit down and kind of, keep asking why. I probably drive our engineers crazy. I like keep asking why, like, 5 or 6 layers of why. Sometimes it pans out and then we are able to think about it from a different approach. And other times it's like, we just can't. And it's like, okay, fine. What else can we do then?
When do you
Mhm.
think it's going to be, I'm not going to say like fully complete, but when do you think it's going to be not presentable either, but when do you think it's going to be, I guess, everything buttoned up where, now you guys are comfortable and giving it to public safety and it being
Mm.
used?
Yeah. I mean, so realistically, we're comfortable now, right? We've been doing, more testing. We've been expanding our dealer network to be able to get in front of more customers over the past few months. And there's been a couple limited 640 radiometric like payload testing that we've done that we feel really good about, right? But I think at the end of the day, it depends on the market's needs, right? There's kind of like the bare minimum for what will allow you to be in the sky if you have no other options available to you. In those kind of scenarios, I feel really good about the role that ACSL Sultan can play as a safety net, if you will, in this industry. So, like, if you, for some stupid reason, absolutely cannot find anything else, I feel good enough that Sultan is still going to help you get the job done. It might be a little bit frustrating. It might be a little bit not what you're used to if you're extremely used to DJI's ecosystem, but it'll get the job done. And, we are rolling out firmware updates and improvements on a fast enough basis, like 4 times a year minimum, that we're able to cover a lot of, feedback as it comes in and get it turned around, within one firmware cycle, which I think is like insanely great. That's like 2 to 3 months, right? But in terms of like, if you're able to continue flying DJI, fly DJI, right? And if you can't fly DJI and you can fly Anzu, then fly Anzu, right? But if you don't have those options for one reason or another, then ACSL Sultan is ready at this point to be of service. We are so much more ready right now than we were a year ago today. And I really have to hand it to our R&D team for, being humble enough to accept all that feedback and put their heads down and actually crunch things out.
No, listen, I think it's great that there's a lot of public safety agencies in this country that can't fly DJI, right? And having another alternative, right, to the other solutions that are out there, I think that's great because now it seems like everybody's being force fed, right, with having to either go with Skydio or go with Brink or go with Teal, and there's problems with all those platforms, right? So having another solution, right, that now public safety can turn to, I think it's great. I think it's a good option.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, and this feeds into the reason why I left DJI in the first place, is just that we need more options in this market, right? It's not going to be, oh, we can't do A, so we're going to do B, or we can't do B, so we're going to go to C. It's more like, no, we need to have like the whole alphabet soup, out there. That's how you foster innovation. That's how you have a resilient industry, right? That's how you properly solve problems and come together to, push things, forward more. So there's good and bad things about every single manufacturer out there. There's things that we need to work on, absolutely, and then there's things that we're a little bit better at. So it kind of just depends on what a specific agency needs, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Let's dive a little deeper into that. Why did you leave DJI for our viewers?
Yeah,
Good
million
stuff.
dollar question, right? Now, so it's interesting. I joined DJI when there was finally some real attention being placed on intentionally supporting the enterprise sector in the US. So my role at DJI was heavily focused on, the enterprise market. And I think as, during those like 2017, 2018 through 2020 years, there was like so much data security heat on DJI at that time. And DJI was so well positioned to be able to maybe push back on some of those initial allegations back then, right? DJI at that time had 5 offices across the US, I think over 100 employees at some point. We had amazing experts, in various fields, from policy to government relations, to PR, to, an R&D office. We really had everything that we needed to be able to maybe do things differently. But
is this during the
hindsight
time
is
that Homeland Security memo came out? That's during that time, right?
so in 2018 was when the US Army memo was leaked.
Okay.
And then from there on out, it was just like, hit after hit, right? So having kind of been at DJI through that, and understanding like, okay, so, there's like these third-party cybersecurity audits and stuff. I mean, there's these different allegations. At the end of the day, to be honest, like, we don't know what we don't know. But I think that, trying to impact an entire industry by making assumptions one way or the other also isn't the best thing to do. For myself personally, it was that whether or not DJI was going to be able to lay to rest any of these allegations, at the end of the day, I was looking at it from a business standpoint, which is there's way too much being invested into drone operations across way too many critical sectors. And if all we have is one single company at the center of it all, that's just bad business, right? That's a vulnerable position for a lot of critical sectors to have to deal with, right? So I wanted to go out and be able to help bring more options to the market, right? Let me put it this way. So imagine if every single laptop in the world was suddenly a MacBook Pro, right? You don't have any PCs anymore. You don't have Lenovo, you don't have Dell, you don't have HP, you don't have Asus or Acer or anything like that. That makes you feel pretty vulnerable, right? Like it's become so ingrained into every single industry's operations. Like if you have a corporate office, your employees are going to need laptops, right? But imagine if all of those laptops were made by just one single manufacturer. If something happens to that manufacturer for whatever reason, strategy changes, leadership changes, funding changes, geopolitical changes or whatever, you're in a tough spot. Like, what are you going to do? Right. So I think diversity in options from a technology standpoint, especially if it's becoming critical technology in this world, I think that's necessary. Right. So that was a really a primary reason that I left DJI, because I wanted to see if there were other manufacturers or other ecosystems out there that can help bring other solutions to market. And that was also a big reason that Romeo Dersher, who I worked with very closely during my DJI days, also left DJI, and we went to Auterion together. And we pushed there for a while to see if we could help enable more options to be brought to market.
Yeah, he's definitely missed in the industry. Romeo, he was an awesome person.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you think things would be different now if DJI had taken those claims seriously back then? Like if they had, when those memos started coming out, instead of having the laid back approach that they had, it's almost like they were they were the only ones leading the market, right? So it's kind of like whatever, but we don't care. Like this is not going to amount to anything. Do you think if they would have just taken those claims seriously back then, things would be a lot different now? Especially geopolitical and
Yeah. It's hard to say, because to some degree, I think that some of the things happening geopolitically are larger than any one of us or any one of these companies, right? It sucks that drones, or DJI specifically, got caught in a crossfire and swept up in all of it. But it's hard to say if there was anything that any individual or any company or that DJI could have truly done that would have change the geopolitics of our entire generation right now, right? So it's hard to say. I mean, hindsight is 2020. I think that there were definitely things that could have been done differently or maybe better, but whether or not that would have really made a difference at the end of the day, it's really hard to say. right?
Yeah, because it seems like they lost you, they lost Romeo, so they lost a lot of key people. The U.S. team was cut back to a fraction of what it was, right? Offices were
Right.
closed across the country, so it seems like instead of their approach should have been like, let's fight this, let's start, showing proof and deep dives into the tech and all that stuff. And instead they just said, okay, well, we'll cut back on the team. Key people started leaving DJI on the U.S. team, and it seems like their approach was the opposite of what they should have been doing.
Yeah, I really can't speak to why those decisions were made. I'm sure somebody up in the upper echelons of DJI's,
It was
strategy
Frank.
team
My
up
mo-
there,
my mo-
I'm sure they know.
my money's on
Um,
Frank. It was Frank.
yeah. But I also think that it's hard to keep um pushing back on things when you're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. And I think for DJI they were, and I think still are to some degree, caught between a rock and a hard place, right? Um, it's difficult for them to change their DNA, right? It is what it is. And if that DNA is being targeted in geopolitical agendas, then it is what it is, right? Um, so maybe that made it hard to justify from a business standpoint, investing continuously into a workforce here or into other support systems here. But that's just speculation at that point. So I really don't know why they made those decisions. I do know it's unfortunate. I wish in a perfect world that things were very different. And I also wish in a perfect world that there was more than one DJI, that we had like a European DJI and an American DJI and just so that there's lots of healthy options available to us.
Yeah, well said. A woman of the people, looking out for the best for the industry.
Sure. Yeah, I think that the drone industry is interesting, right? People are so passionate. We joke all the time that there are some characters in this industry, but what drives that, right? It's the fact that there's just like there's some real passion there, right? Like we're a small industry, but we're big, and then we're a big industry, but we're small, and everybody kind of knows each other. And there's a lot of pride and a lot of strong convictions in this industry, right? But I think what we can't lose sight of is what this technology actually enables operators to do or people to do, right? It's literally changing the way that we look at so many different aspects of society. So it's really exciting to be part of that. But it's also, but it's also humbling because it's like, we need to be able to do this in a way that it doesn't blow up in our faces, right? So can we take measured steps, and can we think through how to actually build supply chain resilience and how to decrease vulnerabilities and how to bring more options to the market and all that?
Yeah. And speaking of wild characters, there's been an anonymous social media account that's been roasting people recently.
Oh no.
Yeah, I
Keyboard
got roasted
warrior.
myself. I
Keyboard
got called
warrior.
Bobby Wang, which is actually
Wang.
probably the best way of pronouncing my last name.
Okay. Well, where are we
I
going
don't.
with this, Bobby?
I know.
Like,
I there's no point in discussing this. Like, you're giving attention to someone that's obviously afraid to they have to hide behind a fictitious account to talk. But whatever, it is
Hey,
what it is.
hey, I mean, the roasts are good though. You gotta admit that.
Yeah, but we roast people on Drones After Dark. We invite people, we roast them, and it is what it is. Like, we don't create a fake Drones After Dark account to roast people. I think it's just nonsense. Just whatever it is. I didn't want to give any attention to this, and you brought it up. So can we move on to something else now?
Sure, sure. Cynthia, how late do you work since you work with the Japan team?
that varies. That definitely varies. But I mean, it's kind of, I've been through this rodeo before. This is like working like at DJI, right? It's also, trying to bridge between West Coast time and Asia time. So it's a little bit all over the place. Um, but I mean, like, that's pretty good balance. I mean, my any long standing like weekly calls I have with our Japan team will usually wrap up by like 6 or 7 p.m. in the evening, and then emails and Teams messages that come through. I mean, I'll respond to those until I fall asleep, which is usually like around midnight or so. So, it's not bad. It's nice, right? It's almost like 24/7. There's somebody looking at something, right? So in a way, it's more efficient, actually.
Yeah.
Are there any
Yeah.
plans for ACSL to have a consumer drone? Because I think that's like one of the things that you know we're not really focusing on is everybody's worried about, what happens if DJI is banned, right?
Yeah.
Public safety, inspections, even the farming industry, right? Um, but what happens to your everyday hobbyist, right? That has drones or, that just need, or a photographer that just needs a simple drone with a good camera. Once DJI
Mhm.
gets banned, there's really nobody stepping up to the plate for that market, right?
Yeah. So no, unfortunately, ACSL doesn't have any plans to get into the consumer segment. It's not in our it's not in our company background or in our company vision at the moment. We're very hyper focused on enterprise applications, right? That being said, I think the way to look at ACSL's entry into the US market to some degree is kind of like we're not trying to be the poster child, but to some degree, I feel like we are, which is can a allied nation, Asian manufacturer come to the US and actually find a, market foothold, right? And is there actually an opportunity here? And I think that building on, hopefully our success in the market here, it's going to actually encourage a wave of other robotics and drone manufacturers from, South Korea, from Taiwan, from Japan to enter the US market, right? Because they're going to see that, hey, it is possible. Like you're not going to get like 70% market share on overnight, but if you can get a little bit of that and then you can enable an entire industry to grow like overall, that's getting us to a state of a healthier industry, right? So hopefully our, you know, I guess our hopeful like success in the industry here will help, bring other manufacturers from allied Asian countries, who have access to precision mass production, who have access to engineering power, who are allied nations and maybe not susceptible to some of this geopolitical back and forth. And maybe some of those will be able to bring consumer options to the market here.
Hasn't a lot of the big manufacturers already moved production into like Southeast Asia already? Like, so how come there's really no solutions coming out of there they're just manufacturing the drones for, you know,
Yeah.
for the Chinese companies, but they're not making their own. So is that even
Yeah.
like a threat for, not a threat, but is that even something that we might see in the future?
Yeah. Um, I think those are all positive signs, honestly, because what you're doing is sure they're making products for, say a Chinese company, but they're still building up a local talent pool,
Right.
right? They're still building up, skilled factory workers that are, going to have expertise that can be applied forward to, say, if an American drone manufacturer wants to contract them to do manufacturing in the future or something, right? So there's a skilled labor force that is slowly being built up outside of China, which is a good sign. There's also just factory efficiencies and production line optimizations that are happening, right? Where if, Chinese manufacturers didn't move certain production lines to say Vietnam or Malaysia, Vietnam and Malaysia, might not have that sort of factory infrastructure or equipment know-how, build up. But now they have the opportunity to build that up. And then it becomes kind of like they're contract manufacturers. So any company from anywhere around the world could theoretically go there and be like, hey, you have a trusted, accepted factory with, high performing factory workers that actually understand what a prop is when they're looking at it. We can now leverage the mass production capabilities there. So I think it's overall positive, I think, for the industry still.
Yeah, and isn't that what we're missing in the US, right? Why
Yeah.
shouldn't we should be fostering the manufacturing and even the assembly, even if we start with like baby steps, right? And just have these big players, right? Even, at some point ACSL, why not have assembly here in the US, right? Because then that would foster maybe into manufacturing, right? And all that stuff. It's just gonna, you know, create a better ecosystem, right, within the country, right? For, you know,
Yeah.
production.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in an ideal world, that's something that we would be able to just wave our hands and do. But I think it'll take time, right? It's going to take time to, I mean, the numbers have to make sense. I think that's the hard part, right? If you were to try to do everything on a mass production scale in the US, I mean, I don't know off the top of my head, but I'm going to guess it's going to be quite some multiples of what you might be used to coming out of China or even Malaysia or Vietnam, right? So there's kind of some pricing psychology that the entire industry needs to wrap their heads around, right, before we can really implement that at scale. I mean, it's a complicated problem, right? It's hard. Yeah.
You think the tariffs are gonna do anything to motivate that to happen quicker, or it's just gonna come up with a
I
new
have
price
no
point
clue.
type of thing?
Yeah, I have no clue because to be honest, I feel like so much of our, like, it's not cut and dry, right? Like so much supply chain gets like impacted by that. It's not just Chinese finished products coming in, but it's like on a component level, right? There's like expanded aluminum tariffs, and that's on like raw goods or on components and stuff. So if you're bringing that in and you're getting the best price from China to bring that in, you might be an American manufacturer, but you're still subject to those, you know, component level price increases because of the tariffs. So that's going to end up impacting things. So I don't think it's going to be this like perfect thing where all of a sudden by, you know, putting crazy tariffs on Chinese products, we're also all of a sudden going to see pricing balance between American goods and, you know, Chinese goods. I think that it's going to be like a fuzzy adjustment period where you try to figure out, well, how much of the supply chain, even for an American manufacturer, gets impacted anyway, right? And then does that offset enough, like the pricing increases of a Chinese product now? And then does the pricing offset, you know, accommodate for the performance, you know, sacrifice that you then have to make? And so it's, I don't know, there's got to be some kind of crazy, beautiful mind algorithm, like, you know, to sort of work this all out. But
well, a lot of the U.S. manufacturers, right, the drone manufacturers, they source components out of China, right? So,
yeah,
you know, it's going to impact them
and
too.
that's hard to get away from, right? Even for ACSL, like, you know, it's hard for us to maintain auditable, clean supply chains, right? Which, you know, we need to do because Sultan came about as part of a Japanese government project, right? So we're held to really rigorous standards there. But what you find is that there are so many components that don't really exist outside of China because so many decades of dependency on getting those components from China have made it so that nobody else in the world cares to make that component, right? So that
and it's critical components as well. Like even though Tesla's batteries are like made in America, a lot of their components like lithium or cobalt, that's all sourced from China. So once that gets tariffed, then everything else has to go up in price. Otherwise, they'll just end up losing money or make less margins, and you know stocks will go down.
or you're back at square one, and just the end customers just have to pay extra for everything, regardless where they're getting it from, right? So
I feel like we're not going to get any more new episodes of Shark Tank because it seems like everybody that goes on Shark Tank is sourcing everything out of, you know, oh, we move production to China to lower the cost. I think who's going to go on Shark Tank now? There's not going to be anybody on Shark Tank.
Bobby's gonna go on Shark Tank. We'll support him.
I think I told him that years ago. Go on Shark Tank.
Go on Shark Tank.
Yeah,
Do what?
maybe Mark Cuban will invest into Skybrows.
We don't need the money though. We don't need the money.
I said
very
years ago.
Just do it for shits and giggles then.
Just go on for the publicity. Just
exactly
crazy pitch.
And then Skybrowser's website's going to crash like a few hours into the after the show comes out.
Just make sure you have internet before you get in front of the sharks, okay?
Just like the featured on Shark Tank. I think there's a few companies.
Don't be embarrassing our industry by going up there and having a webpage not found.
You should put that. You should put that pop up on the Skybrowse website, regardless. Featured on Shark Tank.
Regardless, just some ChatGPT image of like me shaking hands with Mark Cuban.
Yeah, he's leaving the show anyway, so he won't even see it. So he'll be okay with it.
You can claim to be his last big investment. There you go.
Fair. I mean, he lives like 20 minutes away from me. He's like right there across the street.
Wow. Oh, and your pitch on Shark Tank should be like a 3D model of his house.
Stalker much?
That's a little too creepy, man. I don't know.
Yeah, Lewis, don't blow his cover. Okay, he's trying to be all like incognito about this stuff, and you're just blasting it like.
Bobby's an easy target for me. I'm sorry.
We just don't have enough manpower to deliver right now. So we're just focusing on the bigger contracts, the priority customers, existing customers as well, and then we'll scale it out afterwards.
Yeah,
Who
gotta
knows? Who
prioritize.
knows? Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
So we never talked about the years at your time at Auterion. How did any good stuff about it? Like I didn't
Yeah,
know much.
spill the tea.
I know I spoke to Romeo a few times while he was there, but I really didn't get much out of and you guys weren't there that long either, right?
We were there about 2 years. Romeo was there a little bit longer after I left. Yeah. What can I say? Alterian has had and has, a great vision for, how open source can really change the ecosystem of, just robotics development. But I think there's just some unique challenges, in today's day and age that, make it a little bit harder to realize that at scale immediately, right? You're essentially limited by the amount of demand in the market and the amount of manufacturers in the market that are able to adopt your system and then be able to roll it out at scale for enough, customers, right? So it's kind of, again, it's a unique problem to have, but I think Romeo and I were always aligned that, this is the right vision. This is something that's going to benefit the industry in the future. It's just going to take a while to get there.
Yeah, yeah, very diplomatic. It's because Auterion makes killer drones now. You got to be careful about what you say about them.
I don't know anything about that because fortunately or unfortunately, I left long before those decisions or pivots were made.
I have
Well
another
said.
question about your time at DJI.
Yeah,
Did,
shoot.
were were Wayne's cowboy hats annoying?
Not as annoying as his damn boots.
Oh, it's his boots. Every time it's always his hat, his hat. Every time I see him, like his hat. But you're
No,
right, his
it's just
boots.
like, I like being the only one to wear heels to events. And every time we're at a conference and I just hear clickety clack 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 and I'm like
Here
turning
comes
around.
Wayne.
There's Batman, there's Wayne. No, I love Wayne. Cowboy hats and cowboy boots and all that. Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't find it annoying. Yeah, we have some long-standing jokes there. I mean, I don't know if anyone's connected with, Wayne on Facebook. The long-standing joke is that Garrett and I constantly roast him on his love for tofu. So, that's kind of at odds with his, cowboy image that he tries to put on. And we've got some great selfies over the years where like Romeo will be talking and then Wayne and I will like take a selfie, like with Romeo looking all serious in the background. And then Wayne will be talking and then Romeo will take a selfie with like Wayne looking all serious in the background. So it's just kind of like these little like running jokes. Romeo and I joke that like we hired Wayne into DJI and then we like bailed on him. like, like I
How
think
long
he
was
joined
it?
like I don't even know, like less than a year. Like I think Wayne joined maybe like November 2019. I can't remember the dates, but like, then like December 2020, I left DJI. A week later, Romeo left. And then a week after that, DJI was added to the entity list. And we were like, we did not plan it like that. We didn't know that was going to
Mm.
happen. But
Sounds
wow,
like
what interesting
sounds like you
timing.
guys. It sounds like you guys are in on it. I don't know. But
Yeah, we're like, don't add DJI to the entity list until we're out of here, right?
yeah. Shh. Let us leave first. Wait, but
Yeah, but we'll leave Wayne behind.
yeah.
He's collateral.
Yeah. Just blame that guy right there. Like you guys set him up. Like poor Wayne. Like even with the COVID drones and all that stuff, you guys really set him up.
Yeah.
You.
So bad.
I know, right?
Oh
Oh,
Poor
man, we were
Wayne.
we were driving around in Southern California, and he was getting all these like DoD memos and emails from DJI as well. He's like, "Huh," and he'd be like, "Neat," and you press the trash button and just fucking delete it.
He's
He's
like,
such a good sport, though.
why do we give out drones? Why do we donate drones during COVID? It was like, this whole conspiracy, and I could see Wayne like going to his looking out his living room window to see if the FBI was like outside or something like that. And then there's Romeo and Cynthia like, hi, bye, see you later. Oh yeah, you're gonna be
Like,
on the
that's a
list
nice
next
ship
week.
you're on.
Yeah, right. Wow.
Yeah, no, we feel
Well,
so bad about that. I think we had a yeah, we Poor Wayne.
So you guys hired Wayne just to set him up. That's wrong.
Yeah.
That's real. At least, you know what? At least he stuck there and he
He
dealt with
did,
all
he
that
did.
drama.
Yeah. We made sure he signed like a 10-year contract when we hired him. So he stuck there for a while. I'm kidding. Like,
Oh
no,
man.
Wayne is such a good sport. Yeah. I mean, that's what I love about this industry. There's a lot of like awesome friendships and connections you make with people that literally transcend all the silliness, right? Like, honestly, everyone I worked with at ACSL on the US side was like amazing, right? So definitely keep
Oh,
in contact with them.
there's
Yeah.
definitely a lot of great people in this industry. I think there's also a lot of I guess self-proclaimed subject matter experts that I think that create a lot of damage for the industry. And then you have all, these people that just, I'll get my department to buy a drone from you, and all of a sudden, then they jump into this whole fear mongering, and
Mm-hmm.
I think
Mm-hmm.
we kind of like we do it to ourselves in this industry. Like, even, and I tell people all the time when I get these calls, oh, we're we have to buy a non DJI drone, so we're going to look at this manufacturer. And I'm like, well, you're by buying that specific manufacturer, you're just justifying their existence. You're making it harder for everybody else within this industry to fight back, right? Because the more people that sign on, there's going to be less and less of us, and we're going to have we're not gonna have much of a voice left. So I think everybody needs to be aligned more. I think within this industry.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. And I'll jump on a soapbox real quick on this because it's been something that's been bugging me since I started the company. When I started pitching it before we even had a product, it was like, oh, does Skybrowse pass the fry test? Does it meet the Daubert standard? Because those are key standards in the evidentiary world where a manufacturer can prove the accuracy of their equipment, be it a laser scanner, photogrammetry, videogrammetry, whatever it might be. And it's something that we never technically we do pass the Daubert standard, but we've never been challenged on it. So, oh well, if it doesn't get challenged in court, then it doesn't meet our department's needs. And I think that's a very misleading standard, a misleading statement because neither has Pix4D, neither has DJI Terra, and these subject matter experts are pushing the other products out there, and they're
Right. And
putting it the onus on us to prove it, where we have to go to court. We have to basically convince the defendant that they need to challenge our 3D models. So it goes into a Daubert hearing, and it's just like, why is it on me to do all this? Like, it doesn't make any sense, and we get trashed for that. That's why we've been writing more blog posts and marketing on it. It's
dude,
ridiculous.
you've dealt with people that have challenged you when they were with a competitor, and then they leave that competitor, they go to another competitor, and they're still challenging you, which makes no sense. Obviously they're chasing a paycheck, right? It seems like wherever they go to, they're always like, oh, I'm gonna give Bobby shit in Skybras, and say that we're better than they are, and all they do is they jump ship to another one.
Yeah, yeah,
They're
and
just
then
jealous
you
of
hear
Bobby's
all
hair.
this. Yeah,
It
yeah,
it is.
yeah.
It's
Too many
it's
balding
it
guys challenging me.
even after
Shots
dude,
fired.
even after you move to
You said
Texas,
that. You were
even after you
insinuating that.
Bobby, even after you move to Texas, they still don't like you, man. I don't get it. Like, come on.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's my face. Something
You
about
need
it.
a cowboy hat. Maybe
And
some cowboy
boots.
boots.
You need to hang out with Wayne more often, man.
Yeah, we need to tell him to hook you up. Get you
He lives
some.
too far away. I have to drive like an hour.
You need to get some souvenirs from Bucky's.
I got plenty of Buckies laying around. That's like the first thing I did when I moved here. Just bought a shitload of Buckies. Like
That's how you prove
even
your
now,
Texanness.
of course. But they're expanding everywhere now. It's crazy. You should see all the billboards around. Like they used to have a lot of billboards, and now like I'll drive out, go on the highway, and I'll just see like billboards for Buckies 60 miles away, just right
60
outside.
miles away.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy how
It's a
much spend they do.
destination. It's a destination spot now. Nice.
Yeah, have you been?
Um, I want to say that I probably have, like during one of my business trips to Texas, but then Wayne tells me that there's no way that I could have gone to a Bucky's and not had my mind blown and
Yeah,
like have
yeah,
deep resonating memories of it. So maybe I haven't. Like,
yeah. Maybe you
Or
just went to
maybe
a regular Texan gas station.
Yeah.
or maybe you did, and the experience was so horrible that you kind of like, just
Yeah, maybe I just have high standards. I'm like, this ain't
Yeah,
all
that
that. Just
that
kidding. I'm
guy
gonna
in the
piss
beaver
off all our
costume
Texas
doesn't matter.
Texas viewers. Yeah, like if Wayne was going to be a mascot and put on a beaver costume and stand outside Bucky's with a cowboy hat and cowboy boots, I would take a selfie with him.
You know they have
I
different sizes of that as well. Like one time we went there and we saw like a really short beaver. We're like, huh, that seems a little off. Like usually they're pretty tall. Usually they're at least
Okay, you
six
know what?
feet.
Short people need representation too. Okay, Bobby?
Yeah, yeah. Sorry,
I
Lewis.
feel like
Didn't
we're
mean to roast you.
roasting I feel like we're roasting Wayne. We're feel and that other account didn't really roast Wayne. So are we making up for it? Poor Wayne. He
You
had nothing to
keep
do with
bringing it
this.
up.
He had nothing to do with this.
Well, we'll close out the Wayne comments by just saying that he is freaking amazing. He's an
He's awesome.
he's awesome, and I really miss working with him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He loves putting up a good show. We booked the same hotel for this event we had in Northern California, and
Yeah.
he was like, no, you gotta book this hotel. I'm like, okay. He's like, come check in with me. We walk on in. He's got like Marriott points from whatever DJI credit card or travels that he's done. And like,
Yeah.
he's like, oh, watch this. And then goes up to the front desk, checks in. The fucking concierge like opens up like, Mr. Baker, Mr. Chief Baker, please. He pulls out a fucking bottle of champagne from underneath the desk. I'm like, what the fuck does this guy even
What?
have this? Cracks it open and gives him a glass. I'm just like standing there like a schmuck. I'm like, what the
He's,
fuck? And he just looks at me. He's like,
it's like a
do you
premier
want one?
account or something. Like,
I don't know.
He's
I don't know.
Batman, right?
He did
Bruce
it on
Wayne.
purpose. He did it on purpose to flex.
wow.
He was trying to impress you.
He probably called ahead before you guys got to the hotel. It's like, hey, have a bottle, build it to my room, but have it at the
He's
front
like,
desk.
I'll tip you like $500. I just really need to impress Bobby.
Oh man, well, it was
All right.
impressive.
You
Yeah.
know, we need to change the topic. I feel like we're gonna get back into a cycle of like
I know.
accidentally on purpose roasting Wayne, and he's not here to defend himself, so we can't do that. We've already did that to Kyle. We need to not do that to Wayne too.
Well, no, you
True.
did it to Kyle. Don't put us all on
Oh,
that.
okay, yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
You guys
you're
provided
roasting
a
like
forum.
bald people.
I
Yeah,
know.
you
I'm
guys
still
provided a forum, and
I'm still trying to get Kyle to fly to New Jersey, I'm like, dude, I see Alaska Airlines at Newark Airport all the time, like, and it seems like he stays away from here. I don't know.
No, he does. He just stays away from you.
yeah,
Oh,
he just
okay.
makes sure that he doesn't go anywhere near you,
Are
or
you
he
trying to
does, and he
say
doesn't
that
tell you.
Kyle's behind a suspicious account on social media?
I
He
would
doesn't
not
want to
put it
come here?
past him.
Is that a
I would not.
trolling account?
I would not. I
A
would not put it
troll
past him.
about
No.
drones?
Has he been trolled on that account, Kyle?
I don't think so.
I don't think
I don't
so,
know.
right?
Speculating.
Hmm.
Who could it be? Who is the anonymous troll for
I guess
drones?
it could be
You
Guys,
brought
Cynthia.
this up.
guys,
You brought
you're
this shit
making
up.
this
It,
sound like some sort of like drone gossip girl show, like level
It is.
conspiracy
It
or
is.
something.
That's the
Well,
entire purpose of the show. We're just
What
fucking
is this
around.
on like? Is this on like X or on Facebook or on
after
LinkedIn or?
listen, after you just told
I
us
think
the
Lewis
story
knows.
how you set Wayne up, I don't know. Maybe it's you that created that account on social media to troll people.
What can I say? That's just me trying to get an invite to this podcast. And look, here I am. I've made it. Like,
Yeah, we'll have that. You know what? Maybe we'll have that person as a guest, and we'll just have to blur their face or something. Or they'll come on and they'll have like their
Oh, the
voice
voice
disguise.
changer.
Yeah, the voice changing. Maybe they can use Agent Lewis or something for their voice, and
Just
and
multiple
and
Lewises. Oh my
and they can
god.
wear like a mask. Like what's that famous DJ that wears the
Marshmallow?
marshmallow? Yeah,
Dead
maybe they can wear
mouse.
like a dead mouse too. Yeah, there you go. There's the invite.
What,
Keyboard
it's just
warrior.
gonna be fully what? Just completely fully
To
unfiltered.
roast.
It's
Oh,
like the drones after
the
dark after dark.
that would be the ultimate roasting episode.
It would. It would. I mean, for all our viewers out there, like drones after dark is where the real gossip comes in.
Yeah.
The
Maybe we'll
after
put it up.
party.
Yeah. Yeah, it
And
goes
when we
wild.
say all viewers, we mean all 10 of you.
Nice.
Oh man. Yeah, you guys are this is a riot.
Yeah, this is not a professional podcast at all. We're just messing
No,
around.
nothing professional about this. No, not at all.
Yep. What
Nice
other
change of
drone
pace.
industry gossip is there? What else is going on in this industry? Some sort of gossip? I
I
got
read
nothing.
an Did you see the thing, a drone DJ? I don't know if you can pull it up, Bobby. They put something today, some U.S. drone manufacturer, and I think the title was something about um, that
Bigger payload?
bigger payloads and and a lot of comparisons against DJI. Um, but I don't even think that the drone has like a,
I fly.
yeah, and they're claiming like crazy amounts of flight time, but I don't think it even has like a camera. I don't think there's like a camera payload on it.
Yeah, that image is not very realistic looking.
Yeah, it's not real.
Sci-fly. Wow, typically requires multiple batteries. They are built for long endurance. Hey, what happened to other long endurance company? Well, it was like called like Impossible Aerospace? Because I haven't heard about them in a while. And Lewis, was it
I,
you that did any testing on it?
no. What
Hmm.
was it? On which platform?
Impossible Aerospace.
No. But I'm curious to find out what kind of like battery technology they're using because they're claiming that they're getting like 4 or 5 times the flight time out of like a DJI drone. That's what they're comparing it to.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of like it's Impossible Aerospace claimed that as well, like 2 hour battery life. And the thing is entirety like what you see right here, the arms of it, that's all battery. So it's just like one big flying battery. And it just
And then
I don't know.
what happens after like a thousand charge cycles? What do you have to dismantle the whole drone to take the battery out? Like,
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I just heard rumors, just rumors, that they fell out of the sky and then, they got
who?
acquired shortly afterwards.
By who? By Skydio?
Was it Red Cat?
I'm
I
just
forgot.
kidding. You've mentioned falling out of the sky, so sorry, Cynthia. You don't have to participate in any of this.
Uh, Alpine 4.
Nothing to add to it, so
Uh,
I'm just listening. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know the company that acquired all that, but Alpine 4.
Possible
But we
aerospace.
listen. I don't know if you guys saw my post, but we had a really good success story yesterday. A missing 10-year-old.
Oh yeah,
Um,
saw that.
yeah, within minutes. It was crazy. I was actually there with them when the call came in and sent the drone and right away found.
That's
So
awesome.
it was pretty good. But that's
Mm.
what I think that's what this, especially for like DFR programs. I know it's, the buzzword, right? Everybody's talking about DFR, and I don't even know if that's, on ACSL's horizon, right? Or, and for future plans, but it seems like it's the buzzword, right? Companies like, a lot of the big players stopped selling consumer to move to enterprise, and then all of a sudden the shift is DFR. So, but I think that, obviously these type of success stories help these programs out, right? I think it makes it easier to sell to departments and to city councils because I think it's, in my opinion, probably the biggest force multiplier in public safety right now is
Yeah.
DFR programs because you get to do a lot more with less resources, right? The
Yeah.
drones provide overwatch and situational awareness and the response time and the list can keep going on and on. But yeah, I think I think we should hear more about these success stories because I think it just helps out everybody in the industry, right?
Yeah.
Because other manufacturers are going to have to at some point support platforms that are going to be good for DFR programs, especially if we see that DJI is not going to be an option anymore.
Yeah, yeah. Cynthia, can you give us any hints on your DFR ambitions?
We are working on something. Can't share too much, but it's definitely on our radar. We've gotten a lot of inquiries, and there's definitely demand there. Um, how deep we're gonna go into it, and if we're really gonna, if that's gonna become like a focus for us to push on, that remains to be seen. But we are working to at least put some sort of beta test setups in place to see if it's something that ACSL Sultan is well suited for. Yeah, but it's on our radar. I think personally, like, um, there's just there's a lot of stigma around DFR programs still, like in the general public. So I think to some degree, it's going to take a lot of great marketing and a lot of communication in order to help people understand that if you see a drone randomly flying, like it's not, it's like the same battles we've been fighting for years, right? Like it's not someone encroaching on your privacy. Like it's not, I mean, sometimes it is, but like for the most part, there's got to be some way to designate like which drones are out on like official work, right? So I think something that DJI did really well before, like back in the day, was publishing so many beautiful stories and case studies that dig into rescue scenarios and even having a map to track how many lives have been saved by drones, right? Like that's
Yep.
powerful. That's something that as an industry we need to keep pushing forward on, with or without DJI, right? Because the technology is what the technology is, and if that technology can be the difference between life and death for someone, that's a story that's worth being celebrated and told. I'm saying that, and I will tell you right now, like marketing is one of ACSL's like biggest weak points. Like that's like very much a Japanese cultural thing where like everything is so low key that like there's just not a whole lot of focus on marketing ourselves, which is something that we need to change. But yeah, so hopefully as an industry we can feature more of these kind of stories, and shine some more light around it, right?
Yeah,
No, of
yeah.
course.
Get more
Yeah,
use
definitely.
cases, more
Yeah.
get it in the hands of end users like Kyle, so you can get some
Like,
success stories and then
yeah,
blast it everywhere. You can post on every single Facebook group, just
right. I
like
mean, like,
me.
how awesome would it be if, like, I mean, like, think about like the New Jersey drone hysteria, like a couple months back, right?
Yep.
If we can get that level of like viral attention, but on like a good story about drones, that's in an ideal world, that's what should happen, right?
That
Instead
was
of
Dromageddon.
Drone.
Yeah,
Yeah, we need like a
that was an insane time here. Everything that was in the air that had any sort of flashing light was a drone. Um,
yeah,
and it's still and I you still see the Facebook groups. They're still out there, and
yeah.
there's still people looking at the sky and pointing drones out.
That's crazy. I was in
It's
New
all
Jersey at the
Kyle.
time. I didn't see
It's all
anything.
Kyle.
I was
He's
like,
like,
It
those are
was
planes.
it was Kyle. I think Kyle put like extra like strobes on his
he totally
planes,
did. I bet he
and
did.
yeah, and kind of like I think it was all him. I think he started all that.
Yeah, yeah.
But I
Clearly
actually,
he
I
was
actually,
bored.
I actually did I actually put on a class a few months ago where we kind of debunked a lot of like the initial claims, especially like the first sighting. I think was Picatinny Arsenal. I think
Mm.
that's what kicked it off, and I had people from the Air Marshal Service come in, and they did a really good presentation of showing which manned aircraft were actually flying in those areas when people called in these drone sightings. Um, were there drones? Yeah, there probably, there might have, yeah, probably at some point those drones being flown, right? We were flying our DFR drones, and other agencies were flying their drones too. But it was a crazy time. It was Bobby. Bobby was in Jersey at the time. There you go.
So it's a
Hmm.
Bobby and Kyle
Yeah.
conspiracy together. Yeah. Bobby's like, I'm gonna fly a couple drones. Kyle's like, I'm gonna fly a couple jets. Together, we're gonna generate hysteria, make Lewis's
Go
And
life a living
viral.
hell.
and imagine if Bobby got caught, there would have been like a Chinese national
He's not
flying
a Chinese
drones creating
national.
this.
Oh my God.
Oh man.
But the narrative,
To be
bro, it would
fair,
have been
yeah.
it would have been bad. It would have been bad.
Yeah.
You would have been the scapegoat, Bobby. It would have been all blamed on you.
Yep. And then what? Skybrows gets shut down. That's it. No,
Not if you have Mark
and
Cuban
DJI
in your
gets banned.
corner. That's why you should go on Shark Tank.
Yeah, duh.
There's the answer to all your questions.
Yeah, go on Shark Tank, get viral, and then what? And then deal with endless customer inquiries. Oh man, I
Oh
mean, that's
no.
basically what I've been. I apologize to all the public safety agencies that requested a quote and haven't heard back yet. We have over 100 right now in our backlog, and we're trying to get through everyone. Trying to do it in like a more automated fashion. That's well, not automated fashion, more streamlined fashion than what we do right now. So I apologize in advance.
Wait, so you want like less of a role? You want to be like Frank at DJI and people don't think he exists? Is that what you want to be? You want to be like Bobby from Skybrows, but nobody's seen him, nobody's heard from him. That's what you want to be?
Just like a faceless account. that posts about Skybrow stuff. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I think about it every once in a while. I think it'd be nice. Yeah, I think it'd be nice, but
Take a step
I
back.
enjoy what I do. Yeah. Yeah, because as we scale up more and more, there was an interesting blog that I read. It was like out of they looked at the statistics of murderers, people who committed homicide in the safest state in the US, New Hampshire, and it was like one in like 100,000 people or one in 80,000 people or something like that. And he was like, "Well, right now my blog has 3.5 million people, so there's 70 people that are statistically murderers that see my face, that read my writing, that I post every single day on my newsletter. That's kind of creepy, you know? Like, damn, you could, any one of them could, if they really wanted to, could stalk you and kill you. That's something that I've always thought about since reading that blog.
That took a dark turn,
yeah.
and now I'm suddenly very glad that we only have 10 viewers.
Yeah. So I mean, imagine Frank. Like
I know.
everybody knows. If everybody like knew what he looked like right now, I don't know what he looks like. Those pictures of him are from like his college days. Like
It's
nobody really knows. He's
is
a
that why you're
mystery.
going? Is that why you're going away for like a month? Because anybody after you?
What do you mean?
Are you running from someone? I don't know. You just
Oh
you went
man.
you just started talking about like murderers
No,
and
because then I wouldn't announce it. I wouldn't announce it to everybody the exact locations where I'm going to.
Hawaii,
Unless it's
Japan.
all to just misdirect everyone. Like you're
Yeah,
really going to be like
Uh,
going across Europe or something, but you're like, no, I'm going to be in Hong Kong and Japan, and
yeah.
No,
I'm
he's
just
gonna
gonna
be in
blend
Texas.
in the
He's
Sea
not
of
going
Asians.
anywhere.
he's
He's gonna be in
going to be
Texas.
he's going to be hitting up the Bucky 60 miles
Buckeyes.
down the road.
I'm just gonna be in VR all day, just doing random stuff in it. Yep, yep. We'll announce it soon. Not now, but soon.
All right.
Can't
Cool,
wait.
cool.
Yeah.
Cynthia, thanks for joining us for Drones After Dark.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. This has been fun, guys.
First mom on
Yeah,
the show.
first
First mom
mom.
on the show. Yeah. Yeah. I'll claim that title.
Sweet, sweet. Good chatting, everyone, and we'll see you guys in the next one whenever we decide to announce it and do it.
Soon.
Awesome. Have a good night.
Thank you.